Now, Monday's earthquake scared a lot of people and raised again the big question, is Jamaica ready for a major earthquake? Thank you so much for joining us for All Angles. I'm Dion Jackson Miller, and joining me in studio to discuss that very important question, we have with us disaster reduction expert Dr. Barbara Carby, Acting Director General of the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, Richard Thompson, sedimentary geologist, Professor Simon Mitchell, and Assistant Commissioner of Police and Head of the Traffic Branch of the Police Force, ACP Gary McKenzie. Before we go to them, though, Giovanni Dennis has this overview.
This is just one location captured on camera. The moment the earthquake struck Jamaica at 10:57 a.m.
It is the scariest experience I've ever had. I felt a couple of tremors. This was words don't really quantify what we felt a while ago.
Is everybody else in the room? Oh my God.
It was chaos all over.
Persons were very frantic, very afraid. You have persons that have asthma attacks, panic attacks. Persons were passing out. Persons couldn't breathe. It was very nerve-wracking. I'm telling you the honest truth.
Crowds outside business places and hundreds converged at the Kingston Public Hospital.
On a Monday, we see on average 2,000 outpatients. We are talking to patients to reassure them. We started seeing some patients, so those that we did not see, we have rescheduled them to Wednesday.
Traffic came to a standstill in some parts as schools and businesses closed early.
All the main thoroughfares have traffic at this particular point in time. The situation is a bit compounded by the fact that a few of the intersections that are controlled by traffic lights, those lights are out.
Traffic lights were out, and that's expected. Where is the response of the police on bikes? Was a detachment of police sent to the major intersections to direct traffic? We didn't see them.
The country's leading expert on earthquakes says aftershocks may still affect parts of the island for more than a month.
Well, what I would expect is to see several aftershocks for this. There's been reports of aftershocks, but they don't really seem to be that significant. But there do seem to have been aftershocks, and they could continue for a month to 2 months.
Professor Simon Mitchell is also warning quakes may get worse.
Understand that they will happen, and to be prepared for this sort of thing. This one, it's getting towards the difficult side of earthquakes. This is pretty big, and it can cause major problems in the future if we get something bigger. I don't know if the few earthquakes we've had are going to lead to something bigger. I certainly hope not. But of course, we have had very big earthquakes in the past, and we would not want to be complacent.
So, is Jamaica ready for a catastrophe like a major earthquake? And what, if anything, needs to happen to make us ready? Giovanni Dennis for All Angles.
Thank you so much, Giovanni. Okay, Professor Mitchell, let me start with you for an update.
Yeah.
What has happened since Monday?
Since Monday, we have had a large number of aftershocks. At the moment, there's more than 50, and they are still continuing. And with an earthquake of this sort of size, we would expect that to happen. We haven't completely looked at where this is going, simply because 50, it takes you a good amount of time to work out each one, what it's doing, what's going on. But as this dies down, and hopefully it will die down, what we will be doing is to going in and actually understanding this earthquake and what's actually gone on and what the ramifications are. What were the aftershocks? Is it similar to previous earthquakes or is it different? Those are the sorts of things we want to look at.
Over 50 sound like whole heap, though.
It does sound like a whole heap, but what you've got to remember is that this is a big earthquake. So when you get a big earthquake, it basically moves. And to give you a large earthquake like that, the fault plane's got to have moved a good distance. Now what that does is it releases the stress on that one that's moved, but it puts the stress on everything else. So all these other little faults around are going to have to adjust themselves to basically work out, okay, what am I doing? How am I going to actually balance what's going on? And so what we see is each one of them is going to actually move in turn to actually adjust everything back to the point where not much is going on in Jamaica. So in other words, you get to the point where the earthquakes basically stop. But each one's got to move, and when one moves, it puts it onto another one, and so that one moves, and it works in this way.
Like a row of dominoes.
So it's a bit like that, yeah.
One of the things you did say, though, I'm nearly at break, but one of the things you did say as well is that we don't know what could happen next. It could be that the aftershocks and then everything calms down, or you say it could be, in fact, that this, along with a couple of previous earthquakes we've had this year, could be the precursor of something even bigger. Tell me what you mean.
This is one of the problems. I mean, the first earthquake we had back in about May, I can't remember exactly when it was. It was about May, wasn't it? Basically, it was on a fort close to what we call the Plantain Garden Fort. And the Plantain Garden Fort is the one that extends back out into Haiti. And of course, we all know the big earthquakes that have happened in Haiti and over the last 15 years, 2010 being the very big one in Port-au-Prince. So this fort moved. It wasn't actually the Plantain Garden, it was one slightly further south of that. And then we saw a series of movements at other forts, again aftershocks, which adjusted. But what seems to have happened is this has put the stress away from that, and it's put it onto this area in Portland, where we had pretty much a 4.9, and now we've had this large one, this 5.6. So what we're seeing is earthquakes happening, and then the stress being placed onto another fault line, and that fault line
causing another earthquake,
and it causes another one.
So you're saying there's a possibility.
So there's a possibility we could continue seeing this, but it's also possible that this was the one that was going to move, and it may mean now have stopped.
All right, so obviously what it means, therefore, is that we have to be prepared.
Yep.
And that's what we're going to be picking up on in our next segment. Make sure you stay with us. Tweet us as well. It is TVJ All Angles, and our WhatsApp line is 876-381-0072. Give us your first name and your general location. We'll soon come.